Okay, we'll go ahead and bring the city council meeting to order. I would like to please ask everyone to stand and join in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Phyllis, can you please do roll call?
Craig Koshaw.
Here.
Matt Dyer.
Here.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Here.
Scott Murray.
Here.
Wiley Sir.
Here. Was everyone given a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting on June 20th?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as emailed. Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Just to that flag, last night it was really neat to see all the kids and adults just dressed in red, white, and blue and flags everywhere last night for the 4th of July celebration. That was really cool to see that. Kudos to the Chamber and the Stimsons and everyone involved with the fireworks and all the volunteers and police officers and everybody out there in the fire department soaking everything. Thank you to everyone. It was a great show and it was very, very well attended. So,
Great community event.
sure was. Sure was.
I'd like to thank the Summers brothers for putting the pavilion over it last year. For the record, we had rain on Hebe Ashcraft, and those guys stepped up and basically donated the lumber. We had the Belmont Trade School build it for us starting in January with Matt Hunter and his crew, the kids. And I'd just like to say a compliment to them for donating the materials and then also getting that built so that we had a dry. Hey, it forced the rain away, you know.
That's right.
But I just wanted to say thank you to those that put that together and got that completed.
That definitely came in handy last night, that's for sure.
I thought it was a nice venue.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie, we have a couple of applications, I believe.
Yeah. So the first is an event application to close the street. It's for the St. Mary's Parish Fall Fest. The date is September 9th and September 10th, but they're just looking to close the street on Sunday, September 10th, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and that's 5th Street between Monroe and Madison. And it's been signed off by the department head.
Make a motion to approve the request.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. You have one more?
Yes. And then the next one is for the Madison Street Plaza, and it's a wedding reception that is taking place on Saturday, September 23rd. It starts at 5 o'clock and ends at 10:30. It's for Morgan Ellsworth, and she'll have the restrooms, the electricity, they'll have a DJ, and 2 tour guides will be serving the alcohol, and she'll have all of the liability insurance. She's talked to everybody, so that'll come in about a month ahead of time.
I'll make a motion that we accept that.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
So with that.
Okay. Okay, let's, we have a final reading of ordinance 2023-10 for lowering the speed limit in the Cross Creek subdivision.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to place ordinance 2023-10 on its third reading by short title only.
Second. A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 2023-10, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Decatur which amends Schedule 8 of Chapter 77 of the Decatur Code of Ordinances of 2015 as supplemented by reducing the speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour within Cross Creek subdivision.
Make a motion to pass ordinance 2023-10 on its third reading.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call vote.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Scott Murray.
Yes.
Wiley Sir.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries.
Are all the streets out there 25 miles an hour now?
Yeah.
In the neighborhood, they will be, yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good change, for sure. Okay, next we have Josh and Kevin. Are you guys going to talk about the stormwater ordinance?
Okay, so we contracted with Christopher B. Burke Engineers last year to help us move forward with our general permit for stormwater is now an MS4 permit. It was called Rule 13. So basically, the state changed the permit requirements for that, and so we had Christopher Burke help us basically rewrite our whole Chapter 52 stormwater ordinance. So what Ann had prepared is, a complete repeal and replacement of that. It doesn't necessarily replace everything in the ordinance. It's a lot cleaner to do it this way. All the user fees, none of that is changing. It's out to the customers. It just changes language that's required by the state and some of the systems and the processes we have regarding stormwater and runoff pollution and such like that. It's outdated materials and reuse, and we outlaw some corrugated pipe and stuff like that. It's under roads. And length, distance between manholes, like where new installation. So, yeah, we sat down with Christopher Burke and reviewed, and they also updated our technical standards, which is like he was talking about it's basically our spec sheet, showing what contractors' requirements they have to do, different things for runoff, erosion control, things like that. So it lays all that out for us, spells it all out, so that way everybody understands, everybody's on the same page.
Is it pretty much the same as everybody else in the state now?
Yep, everybody's required to it before. It was back in 21 is when it rolled out, I think, and it was just for communities over 100,000. Now it's the second or third phase of that rollout. Now every community that has
So it standardizes it across the state then?
pretty much.
So we need to introduce this. What do we got to do?
Yeah, and so, as Kevin said, Christopher Burke Engineering went through and they compared our existing code to the new state standards that are required through the MS4 permitting and modified a significant number of the provisions within the chapter. There are some that remain the same, and as Kevin said, the user rates and fees aren't adjusted. There are some changes with monitoring, enforcement, the process for making sure that violations are caught and that there's appropriate oversight. There's the addition of agreed orders that can be entered into. So while we have the ordinance being introduced and placed tonight, it would be recommended to hold a public hearing because some of the enforcement mechanisms introduce greater fines and more oversight, and that should be given an opportunity for the public to kind of weigh in on that. So it would be appropriate to introduce and consider it on 2 readings tonight, tabled, hold the public hearing at the next meeting, and then final adoption after the public hearing would be heard, if that was...
So we need to make a motion then, or we need to open the ordinance, start the ordinance?
Correct.
And then ask Phyllis to advertise in the paper
Correct.
10 days prior. Okay.
So I will make a motion to place ordinance 2023-11 on its first reading by short title only.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do you want me to read it?
I think I can. I think I can. Ordinance 2023-11. Are you sure? An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana, which repeals and replaces Chapter 52 of the Decatur Code of Ordinances of 2015 as supplemented in its entirety regarding stormwater regulations.
Make a motion to pass ordinance 2023-11 on its first reading. Second.
Motion and second. Roll call vote?
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Scott Murray.
Yes.
Wiley Sir.
Yes. I'll make a motion to place ordinance 2023-11 on its second reading by short title only.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I just thought you got choked out earlier because we lowered the speed limit in your neighborhood. Ordinance 2023-11, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana, which repeals and replaces Chapter 52 of the Decatur Code of Ordinances of 2015, as supplemented in its entirety regarding stormwater regulations.
Well done. Make a motion to pass ordinance 2023-11 on its second reading. Second.
Motion and second. Roll call vote.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Scott Murray.
Yes.
Wiley Sir.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to table ordinance 2023-11 for our July 18th meeting, and that we can have a public hearing prior to passing on the third reading, and in that asking that the public hearing be publicized.
I'll say it.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you.
I received a letter from the Chamber and the Cow Thumping Committee asking for a donation for this year's Cow Thumping for the fireworks. It looks like we previously gave a $1,000 donation to help with the fireworks for the Cow Thumping.
We have the funds, Phyllis?
Probably have it in your promotional account.
Is it the same guy that set him off last night? Great. I have to recuse myself.
I'm on the committee too.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the same donations last year.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. All right. Phyllis, do you have anything else for council? You?
Unless they had any comments about budgets, I'm going to start working on the budget. So, did you have any comments for the budgets while I'm preparing them?
Yeah, I guess, this last year, we had, for the facade program, we had kind of stalled that for a year. Plus, Dan, you had talked about maybe what's the term for
Broader. Residential facade improvement.
facade? Is that something we want to still consider placing in the budget?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely something to consider. I guess who would run that program? I love the program. I like the idea of it. We'd have to definitely set some guidelines and.
Right.
Who remembers what city that was that did that at the AIM Summit? Jeremy, do you remember?
Main Street did
I don't remember.
they showed,
Main Street did.
Yeah,
downtown.
Right.
Which does include, and I was just thinking, really, basically, it's been just 2nd Street, but that does extend beyond just 2nd, because it's part of Main Street, and Main Street's boundaries are to the north, Jackson, to the west, 8th Street, to the east, Stratton,
Okay.
which includes the Environmental Center, or that, what do we
Nature
call
pre-
that?
The nature, St.
The
Mary's Nature Preserve.
Yeah, Nature Preserve.
Right.
And then to the south, Adams Street.
Okay.
We had also previously talked about expanding that area, and not just having it for that area, but for other parts of the city as well.
What account does,
We did it, we've been doing it on the CEDAT, or it's called the Economic Development now.
yeah.
Which makes a very solid connection to the,
Yeah. Do you have that in there right now? The
The facades,
the 50,000 for,
no, we didn't budget for this year.
I mean, for next year?
Next year.
For not, no, I haven't done it yet.
Okay. So
But I can include it.
you'd like to see that in there? If we want to think about the residential thing, we could set a certain amount aside, and then we have now until this winter to kind of decide what that's going to look like and who's going to run it and what guidelines are going to be set.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, do we start, I mean, we've been using 50,000 a year. Do we use that number for the residential, or?
I think that's the other city that did it. I think they only said, I think it was only like 10 or 15,000, and
Okay.
they limited it to like
What?
500. Was it?
Okay, so a much smaller amount.
Their match wasn't a whole lot. It was 500-ish.
Okay.
They would double if your neighbor did it. So it was either 250 or 500, and it might have been 1,000 if you're. But if you could get 2 or 3 houses to do it together, then they got extra. It's
Some information on it again.
Yeah, we can look it up. But
So,
if, if you want to pick a number, so she can throw it in there to
Maybe-
move for.
I don't know.
25.
15,000?
Where did that go?
They just want to try it for here and see.
He's right here.
Yeah.
I couldn't see. I heard his voice.
You could use 15, but we could always back it off as we further study this too, if we feel.
You guys want to throw 15
Because you
in
can
there
always-
and, for now and see
You
where
can
she
always
ends up with
reduce,
budget?
right?
I would like to.
So for the CEDAT, I still call it CEDAT, it's usually a 2-year plan
Yeah.
that we have to develop, so it's 15,000 for 1 year, or is that for 2?
One.
That's a 30,000.
I was those recommend.
Yeah. Let's
Get a start.
see what it starts.
Just because the funds are appropriated doesn't mean they'll be used.
Right,
Be
you know.
encumbered.
Right.
Right.
Also, Jeremy, you were going to get some more numbers or with your building on Elm Street.
I should have some in 2 weeks
Okay.
for the next meeting.
I would like that, whatever those numbers are in the next budget cycle.
And just for the media, what we were talking about was we do the facade program to help offset the cost for people to do the buildings downtown. But this other program would be allowed homeowners to apply for just sprucing up their yard from the street view, whether it's mulch or bushes or things like that. So that's what that's about. So.
And part of that, Bob, goes hand in hand with like the sidewalk program.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people want to do their sidewalks, and they don't really have the funding or anything to do anything else. So you can get really creative, with it. If somebody wants to do the sidewalk program, not do the sidewalk program, really make a big impact in the neighborhoods.
15 grand enough?
Well, it'll be
The starting place. Yeah.
So like we said, it's only like 500 or 250 or whatever we set it at as a match.
Mhm.
So,
Same, Jeremy, you were getting some more numbers on infrastructure needs at Riverside and restroom facilities.
still working on all those.
So those are,
People are kind of, everybody is so busy right now, it takes a while to get quotes.
I've heard that. But those are items I'd like to see in the next year's budget as
I
well.
agree.
Like windows. Scott, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Last night there was a line to get into the bathrooms. They're heavily used.
Okay, department heads.
Too, there was a line.
Jeremy. Kevin G. Jeff. Jamie.
We are still fundraising for the Keep Yonder project. hopefully, I'll say maybe at the end of this week, we'll be down to under 20,000 that we should be left to raise. So we have about, really, today we have 1 month left. So we still need more funds to get that project completed. But thank you to everyone that has donated so far.
Yep. And again, I'll remind people that the amount we're trying to raise is $50,000, which will be matched by IHCDA. Even though some people on social media say the number keeps changing, that number has never changed. We're still looking for $50,000. So, Josh.
Yeah, we just got storm between Lopez and Elm last week. We'll hopefully get fire station dried up next week. Floor pad ready to pull. We got storm lines put outside also. So we'll be under drain.
Good. All right. Carrie? Kevin H?
No.
All right. Council?
I do have something. I just want to put this on the table to start thinking about. A couple of weeks ago, I read Fort Wayne City Council. It got my mind thinking. They passed an ordinance for their boards to have term limits. And I don't know, I think there may be some value in thinking about that. That you know, when a person has been selected to serve on a board, that we want a variety of people over time, and if we have term limits, I think that could help provide for that. If you look at most nonprofits, in their bylaws, they do have term limits on their boards. So I'd just like to present that idea to council and kind of think about that as possibly something we may want to consider.
And maybe review what our current practice is. Is it consistent through all the boards? Is it?
Some have bylaws.
Yeah.
They have to change them out so long, but then the others are appointed and stay on forever.
Yeah. An example and they have some boards too, and two, I think we need to know, are all of our boards set up the same rotation number of years that you serve and then reappointed? Because in Fort Wayne, they have some that you serve for 1 year and then reappointed. They have some that's 2 to 3. They have some that's 4.
Right.
So
I think we're the same, I think, honestly.
what is...
BZA and Plan are kind of like that.
Okay. So, and like for their ones that were 1-year terms, they set it up to where they could be reappointed 4 times, so they would serve 4 years and then have to set off. I don't remember now how they set 2 and 3. For 4-year terms, they could serve 2 4-year terms and then sit off a year and then could be reappointed after that. And I'm not suggesting that's exactly how it has to be, but that's...
I think it's an excellent idea. Being on a merit board, we have a rotation, 1 year, 3 year, 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year members, and in my total opinion on that, and I think it's positive, is it's so you don't have burnout. Then you walk people up the chairs to become the leader of that organization with time and experience, but then you get, then you have to go find somebody to replace yourself, which means, you get new blood. So that's just one example. Another one is a Connected Careers. We've done the same thing. Cam Collier used to set on that. Some pretty sharp people that set the rules for that, and in my opinion, it makes people, holds them accountable, and I think it less burnout on that.
Main Street is set up that way.
Main Street's set up that way too, and so's the Chambers boards. So I think it'd be wise to do that, because they're either complacent or they get burnt out, and then you don't have active committees in that.
Right.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was, and Kurt's not here this evening, but what is our graffiti policy? Do we have one? When we see obscene graffiti go up, do we cover it up? Do we have the right to? Do we?
It's a form of expression. If it is on public property, that's one thing. If there is graffiti done on private property, it's a different element. Are there, how publicly viewed is it? There's strict scrutiny given to freedom of expression, freedom of speech. You have to be careful in how you weigh that. It's not just because it's offensive to one. Obscenity is poorly defined. It's kind of like you know it when you see it, but there's not a bright line rule that defines it. So
in this instance, it's on private property,
okay.
so they have the right to put up graffiti, and we just have to
if
deal
they're
with it?
defacing their own property, that's one thing, but if they're defacing public property, it's quite another. So if it's on public ground and it's highly visible to the public and the public is complaining to the community, then we start looking at sign ordinance violations or a public nuisance, and we look to our code enforcement in that regard. But if it is something that somebody does to the face of their own property and they're the only ones looking at it and they don't find it obscene or
Anybody that drives by it's looking at it.
okay, then
To me, that's
if the city's
on private property.
If the city's receiving complaints about that kind of situation, then our code enforcement could utilize our nuisance policies to address that issue.
So I'll take it up with Kurt.
Okay.
Okay. Great, thank you.
I mean, and she's right. I mean, it all comes down to what's freedom of speech, what's obscene to people. I mean, sometimes there's some campaign flags that are very obscene, and people across the state, across the country, there's arguments in every town about them, and it's kind of hard to weigh that out.
Jeremy, with this new building going up, do we need to budget taking down the Marks building? I know there were some roof issues or beforehand. It'd all be packaged together. Or?
I would think it would need to come down soon, once we get the building up. Obviously, it's not getting any better, but we'll be looking into that and go back to the next meeting or get a number before the next meeting if she gets that far in.
Right, is that something we can take down ourselves, or is that going to have to be?
It's a possibility. But yeah, there's, like Wyoming Craig knows it's not getting better over there.
No, it's holes in the roof.
It's not.
Insulation coming down.
We were in there the day before.
I was in there today.
Have you been in it?
There is on the outside.
But
There's more water on the inside than there is on the outside.
In places, yeah.
I just think it might be something it's going to make that number higher, but it should probably be planned for so that
Absolutely.
I should have your numbers and a few options for building by the next meeting, and I will try to get out to everybody via email so you have a little time to absorb it. Take any questions, there's a couple of things that you can go. But it's definitely something that we need to start having a conversation on and also be communicating with Mark Murray about how to make sure that we can get out of there by March 1st. It's backlog, there's a lot of contractors are. But Mark did express as long as we were showing the new building to get something built that they could accept it. They was working with us a little bit.
Okay. Anything from the public? Okay.
motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion and second to pay the claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And a motion to adjourn.
second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.